Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward. It's currently free, but in the future I'll add a small monthly fee to support the channel. Comment or message me what price feels fair for you. Let's make it comfortable for both sides.
Chapter 1. Where am I? When Mo Lin slowly opened his eyes, it was accompanied by a little headache. I remember I was working overtime to sort out Doraemon's props encyclopedia for the boss, and then Mo Lin tried his best to remember what happened before. Where Mo Lin works, his boss is a rich second-generation bizarre flower, who likes Doraemon anime very much. It just so happens that Mo Lin also likes cartoons and treasures many famous cartoons. So he attracted the attention of the rich second-generation boss, and the two hit it off, and the relationship was very good. And what the rich second-generation boss likes most is not the passionate Wang Dao man, but the childhood memories of Doraemon this childhood. He specially gave Mo Lin a USB flash drive that looked like a four-dimensional pocket, and asked Mo Lin to help him sort out the various props that appeared in Doraemon. Just when Mo Lin spent a lot of time, he was about to arrange the thousands of props. Suddenly, his computer crashed. Then a powerful light burst out, and then Mo Lin didn't know anything. When I opened my eyes again, it was the present situation. Here, where is it? Mo Lin looked at the many rubbish piles emitting smoke and miasma around him, and the barren land farther away, with a dazed expression. There is no small amount of people around here, even the garbage dump has traces of man-made life. But here, it seems that it is not just an ordinary garbage dump. Mo Lin just wanted to stand up, but suddenly realized. My body seemed to shrink, and my skin became as tender as a teenager. What's wrong with me? Mo Lin looked stunned. And at this time, boom! Mo Lin's mind suddenly burst out with a strong luster, which instantly drowned his consciousness. Let his body fall to the ground again. Props. Hunter x Hunter. Nan. With vague words at the corner of his mouth, Mo Lin's eyes were once again shrouded in darkness. And just shortly after he fell down, a figure came from a distance. Wearing a small type of protective clothing, it looks a little petite. Humanity. At a glance, this figure spotted Mo Lin who had fallen on the trash mountain. Are you wearing protective clothing? She tilted her head. This kind of falling down on a mountain of radioactive trash without wearing protective clothing can basically be sentenced to death. Moreover, the body of such a person will be full of radiation, and no one wants to approach it. The only end is to be treated as waste in landfills. The petite figure in protective clothing would have just left like this. What? She suddenly discovered that the clothes she wore on Mo Lin looked very good. After thinking about it, she cautiously stepped forward and grabbed it with protective clothing. There is no radiation. The wave detection from the protective clothing made this figure very surprised. She checked and confirmed that there was no problem with the protective clothing. Looking at Mo Lin's already immature and handsome face, he paused for a few seconds. Originally, her purpose was only for the outfit of Mo Lin, but now. She thought about it for a moment, and quickly made a new decision. Headache, sore. I don't know how long it took, Mo Lin woke up from the darkness again. This time his head hurts a lot more than before. He clutched his head and sat up slowly, combing through the memories in his mind while looking at the surrounding environment. At this moment, he was on a very tattered wooden bed, and the environment seemed to be in a certain house. However, this house can basically be described as the four walls of the house. There is almost nothing other than the door. There are only a dilapidated oil lamp, a hammock, an old table and chair, and a dilapidated oil lamp on it. The only advantage is that the whole is fairly tidy, so that the house does not look like a pigsty and stable, at least it is a place for people to stay. This shows that the owner of the house is still more attentive. But Mo Lin did not pay much attention to this. As the memories in his mind flooded, his face became more and more surprised. I actually crossed into the world of Hunter x Hunter. Recalling the clear memories that gradually emerged in his mind, Mo Lin couldn't help but smile. This incident of crossing actually happened to him? Fortunately, he is an orphan, unattached. Hunter x Hunter is his favorite anime, not one of them. But like to like, this does not mean that he wants to come here. If you want to talk about the high-risk world rankings, then Hunter x Hunter must be on the list, and it is very high. In this world, the weak and the strong are incomparably close to the real law of the jungle. The secular laws and morals cannot restrain the devil in people's minds at all. In addition to the hidden risks of human society, there are also various natural crises such as secret realms, magic realms, monsters, and relics. Coupled with the existence of Nen, everything is possible in this dangerous and mysterious world. Fortunately, I also mastered Nen preliminarily. Recalling those memories in his mind, Mo Lin slightly raised his immature hand. A cloud of white airflow covered his fist. When passing through, it seems to be passing through welfare. The strong light from the computer reinitiated his body. It made him return to the most suitable time for cultivation when he was 12 or 13 years old, and helped him get through aura nodes. Not only that, this glorious light may be said to be Mo Lin's golden finger, and it also helped Mo Lin cultivate into a different kind of Nen. 4-dimensional 100 treasure bag. Mo Lin read the introduction about his abilities in his mind, and said softly. Asterisk. Chapter 2. Nen, 4-dimensional 100 treasure bag. Ability effect: every day, one item will be randomly selected out of the 100 treasure bag, and the extracted item can be used from the 100 treasure bag at any time. Ability restriction: only one item can be drawn per day. Whether it is good or bad is completely uncertain and random. It is necessary for the capable person to explore the function of the item. And every time you use an item, you have to consume a certain amount of mind and energy. The stronger the props drawn at the sign-in, the more thought and vigor that will be consumed when used. If the thought power and vigor are not enough to motivate the props cannot be used normally. This is the Nen that Mo Lin got. It seems simple and fair. Equivalent exchange: if you want to obtain a powerful ability, it will inevitably be subject to more stringent constraints. However, are these props all from the world of Doraemon? Mo Lin's eyelids twitched. Good guy, is this going to make me the Doraemon in the Hunter x Hunter world? That's right, according to the memory in Mo Lin's mind, these props in the 4-dimensional treasure bag are basically all props from the world of Doraemon. This is also the golden finger that he passed through, so that he can fully understand the function of the props extracted in the future. After knowing this, Mo Lin can still play and joke. So, try not to do some personal things for the boss, otherwise, you will probably like to mention a cross package. From crossing to initiation and then to Nen, this dragon is very attentive. Of course, this is just a joke from Mo Lin. He came to a world like Hunter x Hunter, but nobody needs him to save. This Nen is completely tailored for his current self. After all, the 4-dimensional treasure bag, drawn out at the sign-in, is all props from the world of Doraemon. And he happened to have summarized and sorted out the various ways in the world of Doraemon. He dare not say that he is completely proficient in the functions of various props. Many of the props in Doraemon are very convenient and practical. In this dangerous hunter world, it can be said to have a very important role. In addition to life support items, Doraemon also has many weapons of mass destruction. For example, every time I saw a mouse, Doraemon deliberately took out a super bomb from his pocket that was enough to blow up the entire house and even the earth. There is also a laser pistol that can melt a tank, and a tracking shell that can easily burst even an aircraft carrier. So Mo Lin sometimes wonders, is Doraemon really just a babysitter baby robot? If Mo Lin had such a prop, well, he guesses that even if he cultivates to a powerful mind like Netero, he may not be able to support him to activate the super bomb. I want to improve my strength first. Mo Lin secretly made up his mind. Only by possessing the strength can we have the capital to walk in this dangerous world. Nen is the foundation of strength. The ability to manipulate life energy, freely manipulate the life energy emitted from the body, also commonly known as aura, and the force used in attack or defense is called mind. Learning this skill is also a condition for becoming a real hunter. Mindfulness can be trained by one of the 4 major disciplines, and anyone can learn it. Therefore, in order not to be used by evil forces, it is a technology that is usually not easily known. The 4 major lines of meditation practice are: entangling stabilizes the qi flowing throughout the body. In combat, the intensity of entangling is equal to the defense against mind attacks. Absolutely, tighten and isolate the breath of the whole body, making one's own sense of existence weak. In the state of absolute, the defensive power against the mind attack approaches 0. Being in a state of being exhausted helps to restore physical strength. Practice, sending out the qi in the body from the aura nodes together, releasing more qi than usual. Fa, this is the master of Nen, who can freely manipulate and use his qi. That is, according to one's own situation, develop a nirvana-style Nen. Each person's ability varies from person to person. There are also many schools of practice in this world. The most mainstream is the heart stream implemented by the Hunter Association. And these 4 major lines are basically summed up from the source of the heart, which is suitable for every non-beginner to learn. But this is just the advanced skills that are just getting started, and then read, such as hard, weak, hard and so on. Even people with different talents, without the guidance of excellent masters, can hardly rely on their own to understand and use them skillfully. Although I have this 4-dimensional 100 treasure bag item Nen, if you want to become stronger, you must never work behind closed doors. In Hunter x Hunter, Nen has existed in a world where I don't know how many years. Mo Lin is not so arrogant that he thinks he can be very superior after watching anime. Although they have the advantage of foresight, Netero and Xenozaldik are much more profound in their perception and understanding of Nian. But with super props from the 21st and 22nd worlds, it is not difficult to surpass them. Mo Lin didn't slander himself, his eyes gradually became firmer and full of confidence. Asterisk. Chapter 3. In addition, Mo Lin originally wanted to see what his 4-dimensional 100 treasure bag belongs to, what kind of Nen it belongs to. But looking at the 4 walls of this house, the mouse has to cry when it comes, and the bleak scene without a cup or water can only give up. Let's take a look first, what props can be obtained by signing in today. Mo Lin's mind and consciousness were immediately immersed in Nen. The space of the 4-dimensional treasure bag is vast, and the area is almost endless. Mo Lin also found out that in addition to putting props here, it can also be used as a super large storage space. After all, Doraemon's 4-dimensional treasure bag can hold everything, and it is a prop in itself. Drawl. Mo Lin's thoughts moved, and suddenly a strange square appeared in front of him, with black dots on it, which looked like a brick. This is, translation Konjac. In reality, Mo Lin took this soft-to-touch thing out of the treasure bag and held it in his hand. From the immersion of the mind to extracting the props from the treasure bag, and then taking it out, this series of processes, in Mo Lin's view, took a while. But the reaction in the external reality is just a momentary matter. When the translation Konjac appeared, he recognized the prop at first glance. The appearance rate of this little thing is simply not too high, it has appeared in almost every Doraemon theatrical version. Props, translate Konjac. Effect. The role of translation is often used when you do not understand the other party's language or speak a language other than the native language. It is a prop to solve language problems. This was summarized by Mo Lin himself when he arranged the props. When you use it, you only need to eat it, so that you can understand all strange languages, whether it is a foreign language or an alien language, and you can communicate with it at the same time. The same effect is not only for language, but also for words. Of course, it also has a shortcoming, that is, a piece of Konjac can only correspond to one language. Translated Konjac is most often used in Doraemon's long novels. It is used in at least 8 or 9 theatrical versions such as Nobita in the Great Demon Realm, Nobita and the Underwater Ghost Rock Castle, Nobita's Birth of Japan and so on. Facing the underground, undersea, astronaut, celestial, etc., Doraemon eats a piece of Konjac every time he sees a new race. But the flaws are not concealed, this prop is also indispensable to the current Mo Lin. The world of Hunter x Hunter is full of ghost-like characters. If I learn from scratch, I might not be able to learn it. Mo Lin shook his head and directly put the translation Konjac into his mouth. At the same time, his whole body's thought power and vitality have also been reduced. Every use of the props consumes the power of thought and vigor of the capable person. The translation method of using Konjac is just to eat it. For me, this Nen still has 2 main restrictions. One is that only one item can be randomly selected every day, and the effect is not known yet, and the other is the mental power and energy consumed when using it. While chewing on the translation Konjac, Mo Lin thought about his first use of Nen and summarized it. In this aspect of randomness, there is no way to look at luck by looking at the face, but I can know the effects of the items drawn. In other words, the real limitation for me is only the mental power and vigor that the use of props consumes. So, can I reduce the other restriction at the expense of strengthening the condition of one restriction? It's the so-called restriction in oath. Mo Lin thought in his heart, he had eaten most of the square translation Konjac in his hand. In other words, the taste of this translated Konjac is actually pretty good, it tastes like soft waxy taro. And the quantity is large, the tube is full. After Mo Lin ate most of it, he felt a little full. And just after he swallowed the last piece of Konjac into his mouth, he planned to study how to improve his mind, strengthen his aura, and related constraints and vows. Suddenly, there was a squeak. The old wooden door of this dilapidated but not messy house made a harsh creak and was pushed open. A girl with pink hair and golden eyes opened the door and walked in. "You're awake?" she asked flatly, without any expression on her face. Even in those beautiful golden eyes, there is no emotional fluctuation at all, as if it can't afford any Polish lake, it is beautiful and peaceful. Mo Lin responded calmly on the surface. I was really relieved. Fortunately, the translation Konjac is great, and I can really understand it. Mo Lin started to look up and down at the girl in front of him. It seemed that she had rescued herself from the trash. The girl in front of her is petite, about 11 or 12 years old, and has beautiful short pink and purple hair. The eyebrows are very thin, the nose and mouth are slightly delicate, and the color of the eyes is a rare golden color, and they are very large and very energetic. She wore a white dress that looked like a judo suit, but the lower body was a short skirt style, and she was also wearing a black tight shorts, which was longer than a one-piece short skirt. Looking at a little girl about 11 or 12 years old is something that can easily cause misunderstandings. But firstly, Mo Lin's current physical fitness and age are not much older than her. Come on. Why do I look at her more and more familiarly? Mo Lin said to himself. Asterisk. Chapter 4. This is for your clothes. She seemed to have noticed Mo Lin's suspicious gaze. The girl with pink and purple hair folded her hands on her chest, pointed her finger on her white clothes, and calmly looked at Mo Lin and said, "My clothes." Mo Lin was startled slightly, and then he reacted. "I came across by myself, and the outfit I was wearing was gone. Instead, it was rather tattered. My can be worn or can be worn, but the hole is a bit big. If it is more rotten, you may have to go to nature and the caveman and the apes Titian to be company." My clothes changed. Mo Lin looked at the pink and purple girl in front of him, and the familiarity in his heart became more and more serious. Gradually, there was a figure in his mind that slowly overlapped with her. I think of the environment I am in now, and the barren land after I have just passed through, and the heaps of garbage. Where is this place? Mo Lin swallowed slightly and asked the girl. Meteor Street. The girl stroked her short hair and replied calmly. Meteor Street. Mo Lin murmured, sure enough. I really fell in a good place. Meteor Street, a waste landfill, is located on the northern edge of the Aulubian continent in Hunter World. As early as 1,500 years ago, this place was designated as a garbage dump. In this place, any country is allowed to discard anything here. Garbage, corpses, babies, industrial waste, anything that is considered useless can be discarded here. But Meteor Street is very special, it is not an urban slum. Although the area outside Meteor Street is basically full of garbage, the street in Meteor Street is very clean and simple. The color of the building complex is mainly yellow and white, and the materials used are not bad. If you ignore the garbage dump outside Meteor Street, this will be a normal town. Residents living in Meteor Street are all abandoned people, and they are also the world's underprivileged households. They cannot find any birth information. The residents here mainly rely on the recyclable materials in the garbage dump for their livelihoods. Although they live on garbage, the people in Meteor Street are actually living a positive and hearty life. Of course, the laws they live according to have nothing to do with the moral laws of the secular world. The weak and the strong, the survival of the fittest, the law of predators that the people of Meteor Street observe together, simple and fair, under its shining, gave birth to the simple character and simple feelings of Meteor Street residents. Mo Lin did not expect that he wanted to develop slowly in this Hunter x Hunter world, focusing on safety. But I didn't expect the start to fall in such a dangerous place. The so-called hell difficulty is nothing more than that. If this is Meteor Street, then you. Mo Lin stared at the girl in front of him who was getting more and more familiar and took off her clothes. What the other party meant just now was to take away her clothes, go somewhere, and change into the white judo practice clothes she is wearing now. What's your name? Mo Lin asked. Maki. The girl with pink and purple hair replied calmly. And you? Mo Linier. Mo Lin replied weirdly. It really was her. I didn't expect to get on the line with the characters in the Hunter x Hunter world so quickly. Meteor Street, the girl with pink and purple hair, and the decoration of exercise clothes like this, only the Maki in Mo Lin's mind can match the number. The current Maki looks like a very cute little Lolita, enough to arouse the surging love of the majority of Lolita. But Mo Lin is not Lolicon, and he knows very well that this cute little Loli is not easy to provoke. This is the world-famous theft gang in the future, one of the members of Phantom Troop, who has engaged in many murderous crimes all over the world, but it is far from being as harmless as it seems now. Why did you save me back? Mo Lin asked curiously. 2 o'clock. Maki's expression remained unchanged and said, one is clothes, and the other is intuition. Well, quite concise and concise. Mo Lin also understood. Intuition. I don't need to say more about clothes, but intuition. Maki's sixth sense is super strong and accurate. Once her woman's instincts are produced, there is nothing wrong with it. This can already be used as an auxiliary ability. Do you have anything else? Maki looked at Mo Lin, who was still thinking about things, and asked. If not, I will go to bed first. Sleep? Mo Lin was stunned, and then realized that it was late at night. It's really time for me to wake up. Seeing Maki, who had ignored Mo Lin at all, lay on the hammock, Mo Lin also shook his head. Let's take a break, or my brain will explode. Traversing, memory. This series of events and the pain that did not dissipate in his mind made Mo Lin feel physically and mentally exhausted even if he awakened Nen. Mo Lin also fell down with him and continued to lie on the tattered wooden bed. Looking at Maki's current appearance, she should be only about 11 or 12 years old. I remember that when Phantom Troop was gathered in Yokiksen City in the original version, she was 24 years old. In other words, it should be 12 or 3 years before the plot officially started. I don't know if Phantom Troop is still established. Looking at the appearance of a single person like Maki, I think it shouldn't be, there is no. Right. Mo Lin's eyelids were getting heavier and heavier, and after a while, he fell asleep. As for the future dangerous female criminal on the hammock next to it, Mo Lin didn't think much about it. He just thinks that this girl who will be a member of Phantom Troop in the future is still just a child after all. Asterisk. Chapter 5. Can't deny her present because of her future. Of course, the most important thing is that Mo Lin feels that Maki is not malicious to him. Otherwise, he just took the clothes and threw him on the garbage to fend for himself. I also found him a piece of coarse linen. At first glance, he didn't have much intentions on him. This is why Mo Lin can sleep at ease. But he slept peacefully, and on the hammock next to him. Maki turned over and quietly looked at Mo Lin, who was breathing evenly. His eyes were calm and he didn't know what he was thinking. The next day. Mo Lin was awakened by a strange smell. What's this smell? Mo Lin opened his eyes and sat up on the bed, and saw Maki holding a wooden bowl with rotten edges in his hand. Using the cut-off spoon, scooped the dark stuff in the bowl. You're awake? She replied without looking up. What you eat is. Mo Lin pointed to the bowl she was holding in her hand. This is half of my ration today. As Maki said, he put something darker than black sesame into his mouth. Do you eat this kind of food every day? Mo Lin hadn't developed in Maki, and even the little pigeon didn't count as the first half of the body and gave a quick glance. This kind of food doesn't look very good, it doesn't smell good, and it certainly doesn't taste very nutritious. Not for you. Maki said to Mo Lin while chewing. Before I rescued you from the trash and took the clothes on your body. We cleaned them up. Now you live in my house, if you still want to eat, you need to pay a certain price in exchange for food. This taste is about to catch up with stinky tofu, I don't want to eat this kind of food either. Mo Lin murmured in his heart, but asked honestly. What's the price? No way, I turned on Nin, and after a good night's sleep, Mo Lin felt that his state and spirit were better than ever. In contrast, his stomach has never been as hungry as it is now. It didn't scream out in front of Maki, it already gave Mo Lin a lot of face. Wait, later you follow me to the landfill, which is the garbage dump. Maki gave another spoon to his mouth, I will get you a set of free protective clothing in a while. Although it is the lowest level, it should be sufficient for radiation and exhaust gas protection. This should be used very well. Mo Lin complained again in his heart. It seems that I am destined to be hungry this morning. He sighed so, and then suddenly remembered that today's props have not yet been checked in and drawn. Drawl. His mind and consciousness were once again immersed in the four-dimensional treasure bag. Then the next second, his body paused slightly. Then he raised his head and looked at Maki in front of him with a smile. Maki, who was drinking something dark, raised his eyebrows. I don't know why, she suddenly felt that Mo Lin's smile seemed to have huge confidence and ample confidence, and then it was abnormal, unbeatable. Maki. Mo Lin straightened his chest and asked with a smile, in Meteor Street, what is the most important thing? Survival supplies. Maki looked at him and replied. Food, weapons, and medicines. Food is indispensable for survival, weapons are indispensable for surviving in a battle with people, and medicines are medical treatment after fighting or exploring the garbage mountain after being injured. Without these three, it can be said to be difficult to move in Meteor Street. What is the most important thing? The smile on Mo Lin's face deepened, and he continued to ask. Food. Maki gave the answer without even thinking about it. If fights are avoided as much as possible without the need for weapons, and care is taken when exploring the trash mountain, medicines are not always needed. And food alone is absolutely indispensable in this Meteor Street. At the same time, it is also the most difficult to obtain. Weapons and some medical equipment can be found in abandoned landfills, but food alone is difficult. In other words, even if it is found, there is so much radiation, it is impossible to talk about it. That's it. Mo Lin clapped his hands, a little excited. Since food is the most important here, if I get food, I don't have to go to the garbage dump to find things in exchange for supplies, right? Hearing this, Maki looked Mo Lin up and down, and nodded. If you can find food, you really don't have to go out, and even if there is surplus, you can even go to the trading point in exchange for other life supplies. After all, in this meteor street, there is no stronger exchange than food. She didn't understand why Mo Lin said such things. When Ming Ming brought him home yesterday, his whole body was well checked, and there was no hidden food at all. If there were, I would have found them out and hid them a long time ago. That's good. Mo Lin grinned, then flipped his hands. Look at this. Suddenly, as if by magic, a square with blue, green, and yellow patterns intersected, and something similar to a tablecloth appeared in Mo Lin's hands. Maki's eyes condensed, and his calm eyes rushed into waves. Where did you get this thing? There were obvious doubts and some vigilance in her tone. When she checked Mo Lin's body yesterday, she didn't find such a long tablecloth at all. When she got up first in the morning, she made a special observation, and Mo Lin was indeed cleaner than her face. But now, Asterisk. Chapter 6. Did it change out of thin air? For the unknown, or people and things beyond her cognition range, she will be vigilant. This is necessary for survival in Meteor Street. Without vigilance and guard, you can't live long at all. This place is totally unsuitable for the little sheep and the little white rabbits and the silly white sweets to live. Don't worry about where you came from. Mo Lin smiled. What do you think of this tablecloth? Does it look good? It's pretty good looking. Maki looked up and down and nodded in agreement. In terms of pure appearance, it is indeed the most beautiful fabric she has ever seen since she was born. Take it to the trading point, you can trade a lot of black rice. Black rice? Did you eat this? Mo Lin glanced at the dark food in the bowl in Maki's hand, and couldn't help but shook his head with a smile. This tablecloth is not a wasteful and rude usage that is directly used to exchange things, it is too much to kill chickens, but it is called a gourmet tablecloth. Maki looked at Mo Lin quietly, as if expressing with his eyes, isn't it just a name, what's the difference? I'm optimistic. Mo Lin spread the gourmet tablecloth on the old table in front of Maki. Next, is the moment to witness the miracle. Feeling the surging of thoughts and vigor in the body, Mo Lin's mouth curled up slightly. Props, gourmet tablecloths, also known as treat napkins, gourmet napkins, treat tablecloths, wrapping napkins, gourmet tablecloths, food tablecloths, automatic tablecloths, gourmet tablecloths, gourmet tablecloths, gourmet tablecloths, etc. Effect: all kinds of food are produced out of thin air. As long as you name the food you want to eat, the tablecloth will transform into the food. The transformed food is real, completely free, and unlimited. Remarks: it is a magical item that almost everyone dreams of. If you suddenly don't want to cook but want to eat something delicious, or when you see a very good delicacy but you can't make it and you can't buy it and you are upset, this gourmet tablecloth can perfectly solve your current needs. Gourmet tablecloth. This prop is familiar to almost everyone, very representative. As long as you want to eat, take out the tablecloth and you can instantly change it. If Mo Lin had this prop in the previous reality, then there would be no need to cook anymore, and the national happiness would rise geometrically, right? Any menu in the world can be changed for you. I just don't know if it will become unconvinced after it comes to the Hunter x Hunter world. But think about it. The food on the earth can be changed, right? Bring me a sweet and sour pork ribs, braised crispy duck, mapo tofu, steamed fish, ham, and winter melon soup, plus a bucket of white rice. Mo Lin raised his hand and snapped his fingers. After that, his mental strength and vigor began to decline, and at the same time, on the gourmet tablecloth, in Maki's shrinking pupils, dishes slowly emerged. This is... Maki was not calm at all. The scene that happened before her utterly exceeded her imagination. Do you know why it is called gourmet tablecloth? Mo Lin saw Maki staring at the steaming food on the gourmet tablecloth in a daze. He couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. Because it can transform all kinds of food. Mo Lin walked directly to the table and moved the tattered wooden bed over to sit down. He picked up the spoon, bowl, and chopsticks that came with the tablecloth on the table, and scooped out a full bowl of white rice from the vat of white rice. Hiss! Mo Lin took a deep breath at the delicious food in front of him, even if he had never seen such a beautiful meal in his previous life. It's so fragrant. This is the 4 dishes and 1 soup that has been passed down since the ancestors Zhu Yuanzhong of the Ming dynasty. Although it is definitely different from the beginning, the menu has changed. But now, these 4 dishes have become one of the standards for official receptions everywhere. Mo Lin didn't say much anymore, picked up the chopsticks, and directly picked up a piece of spare ribs. Delicious! He directly gave a thumbs up. This is definitely the best ribs I have ever eaten. Moderately sweet and sour, not oily or greasy, the taste is extremely rich and delicate, mellow and delicious. Maki looked at the blackness in his hand, then looked at Mo Lin who was taking a spoonful of mapo tofu into his mouth and enjoying it beautifully. She suddenly felt that the blackness in her hand was not smelling anymore. No, there was no fragrance at all. Is it so delicious? She was a little unnatural, and sat opposite Mo Lin. Hey! The answer to her was the tableware that Mo Lin handed to her. Do you know if you taste it yourself? Mo Lin was holding rice at the corner of his mouth and said vaguely. I prepared your share for you. He doesn't have time to talk. Maki was silent again, but her body honestly took the dishes from Mo Lin. Then I will taste it. She tried to make her tone normal. Asterisk. Chapter 7. Maki did not come up to serve with vegetables, but scooped himself a bowl of ham and winter melon soup. Hi! When the winter melon was taken in, her eyes trembled again. The salty aroma of ham and the sweetness of winter melon absorb each other and complement each other, making the soup very delicious. Maki just felt like winter melon dancing on the tip of his tongue, and the cells of the whole body were cheering and jumping for joy. This is the first time she has eaten such delicious food since she was born. Uncontrollably, she couldn't control her arm, and delivered the soup and food in front of her to her mouth. I can't lose to you either. Perceiving Maki's faster and faster eating rate, Mo Lin also speeded up his movements. Soon, after a short while, the 4 dishes and 1 soup on the gourmet tablecloth, plus the big bucket of white rice, were wiped out by the 2 of them like a cloud. This is true, there is not even a bit of oil or water left. The dishes on which the dishes were served were shiny, and the lick was cleaner than Mo Lin's face. Hiccup. Slightly burped, Mo Lin felt the word comfortable all over his body. Simply transparent. I also ate such a good tasting dish for the first time, Mo Lin said with emotion. It's still a bit unsatisfactory. Let's have some dessert after dinner. He looked at the female man who was wiping his mouth there, who had been fighting for food just now, and turned into an iceberg little Lolita again. What do you want? Anything. Maki wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and said calmly again. Then I'll be the master. Mo Lin snapped his fingers again. Here are 2 more cups of apple souffle and a cup of clear spring water with fresh leaves. With the reduction of mental power and vigor, 3 drinks appeared on the gourmet tablecloth again. No girl can resist the combination of fruit and cake desserts. What is this glass of spring water used for? Maki asked with some curiosity as he sipped the milk pastry and felt the joy on the tip of his tongue. I'll know in a minute. Mo Lin smiled while eating dessert. Maki nodded, then silently ate sweets. But after she was quiet for a few seconds. You said if we sell these foods, how much can we make? I don't think I can earn any money. Mo Lin took a sip for himself. After taking out these foods, the crazily greedy people next to him will immediately pounce on us and tear us to pieces. Maki was silent. Indeed, she said before about the importance of food in Meteor Street. So how important food is, and once these foods are sold, how dangerous they are. This is what Maki does not want to face. But she kept staring at the desserts in her hands, and the gleaming eyes made Mo Lin feel strange. Could she be calculating how much she can really sell, right? Yes, Maki seems to have a certain pursuit of money, otherwise he would not stay in the Sky Arena, but also made stitched transactions. Even Hisoka, which is nominally his own, has a stitching price of 50 million yuan on the right hand and 20 million yuan on the left hand. Simply, 70 million will be earned. This money is much faster than robbing a bank. The beautiful female characters written by cartoonists seem to like money. Maki, Nami from One Piece, the 18th in Dragon Ball. Maki meditated on the value of desserts in his hands, and Mo Lin was also diverting his thoughts indiscriminately there. Soon, the dessert after the meal was finished, and Mo Lin put the cup of clear spring water with leaves in front of him. Next, let's see what kind of nan I am. Maki was watching. Mo Lin stretched out his hands towards the water glass. This is the Qi identification method of water C-type, a diagnostic method to identify the attributes of one's mind power, created by Xin Yuan Lu Chuan. The method is to put a leaf on a cup full of water, and then start thinking with both hands around the cup. Each nan attribute has a different manifestation, divided into 6 types. One enhancer increases the amount of water and overflows from the cup. 2 conjurer, the taste of water will change, different people will change into different tastes, both ups and downs are possible. 3 transmuter will change the color of water. 4 emitter, the leaves floating on the water will move. 5 manipulator, crystals will appear in the water. 6 trait system. Phenomenon that is different from the other 5 systems belongs to the trait system. For example, Neferpitu's water-seeing style is that the floating leaves are withered, which also belongs to the trait system. Mo Lin also wants to see what his nan is. Almost, it should be manipulator, right? The 4-dimensional treasure bag, extracting props, isn't this equivalent to manifesting the props? Mo Lin thought so, and started thinking with his hands around the cup. And Maki watched quietly from the side, and didn't ask much. Today Mo Lin has just gotten up, which is the 2nd day after the two have been in contact. In less than 2 days, he gave himself so many surprises. He is a rather mysterious guy. Maki thought quietly, his eyes also watching Mo Lin's movements. Soon, under the joint attention of Mo Lin and Maki, lumps of crystals quickly appeared in the cup. Is it a manipulator? Indeed, with so many props, it should be the manipulator, right? Mo Lin, who was not surprised by this result, was planning to withdraw his thought power. But at this moment, in Mo Lin's slightly surprised gaze, the cup did not stop after a crystalline object emerged. Instead, under the influence of Mo Lin's thought power, it continues to emerge downward. Then more and more crystals appeared, and the volume became bigger and bigger. Finally, boom! In Mo Lin's stunned gaze, the cup couldn't contain more and more crystals that emerged. After the critical point was exceeded, it slammed directly. It bursts like a goddess scattered flowers. Asterisk. Chapter 8. What's wrong with me? Mo Lin was a little confused. The manifestation of manipulator he knew was not so exaggerated. When Kurapika did the Mizumasana, the particles that emerged were very small, not as big as Mo Lin at all, and the number was still so large. So at the beginning, crystals appeared. This kind of performance is indeed a manipulator, but later the crystals became more and more larger and eventually broke the cup, which is different from the phenomenon of the other 5 series. This can be regarded as a trait system, but... Mo Lin scratched his head. I have 2 common phenomena of manipulator and trait, so what's the matter? So am I a manipulator? Or a trait? Mo Lin is struggling with his own department, and Maki next to him also feels that his world has been hit like never before. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Why did Mo Lin just put his hands around the cup, so that a small cup can suddenly appear so many and so large crystals? Well, her worldview was almost overturned when she took out the gourmet tablecloth from Mo Lin. Now it just made her more shocked. Maki looked at Mo Lin with a complicated expression. Obviously, he was just a boy who looked the same intuition and picked it up from the trash. But why does the other party and oneself seem to be characters in 2 worlds? What's wrong? Mo Lin, who temporarily gave up the entanglement with the relationship, also noticed Maki's complicated expression, couldn't help but asked with a smile. Are you scared by the movement I made? Mo Lin cleaned up the things on the desktop, and suddenly smiled and said. Do you want to know, why on earth is this? He tucked the arranged foodie tablecloth in his hand, and smiled teasingly. Maki remained silent, but the slight sparkle in her eyes still exposed her inner thoughts. She is really curious. This is actually very simple. Mo Lin shoved again, put away the gourmet tablecloth, and staged a big change again. Maki, well, she is almost immune to Mo Lin's changes. It's because of Nen. Mo Lin said with a smile. Nen. Maki chewed the words again. Yes. Mo Lin nodded. The knowledge about Nian, although it is for world peace, social stability, etc., cannot be spread out indiscriminately. But in the future, Maki will also know the existence of mind, and open the aura nodes to practice Nen, thus developing the mind system Suture Nen with not weak auxiliary ability. Anyway, Maki will enter the world of mind sooner or later and develop his own Nen. Mo Lin's use of these props will definitely be known to Maki in the future, and it is Nen's role. And Mo Lin didn't plan to leave here in the future. If his strength hasn't grown enough to protect himself or he doesn't have particularly good props, Mo Lin plans to live in Maki's house temporarily. Otherwise, the boy is outside alone, but it is very dangerous. Especially since this is Meteor Street, Mo Lin is not very familiar with the specific rules of survival here, and the various agreements made by the elders. Old residents like Maki are needed to answer his questions and solve many problems in life. What's more, if there is a ready-made house, Mo Lin will not go out and ask for trouble to find a house. With his new face, he can't tell how many troubles there will be. And the most important point is, Mo Lin who recognizes Maki, may he be willing to leave her like this? That is obviously impossible. Therefore, since I decided to live in Maki's house, it is natural to sign in every day to collect new items. Maybe there will be a newly drawn, very useful item tomorrow. In this case, under the same roof, Maki cannot be avoided. Rather than prevent Maki from making up and making speculations there, making any bad misunderstandings and movements, it would be better to be honest now. Not only can it win a wave of favorability, but it may also be able to close the relationship, allowing Maki to cover Mo Lin in this Meteor Street and live a more stable life. This is why Mo Lin didn't cover Maki at the beginning, instead he generously took out the gourmet tablecloth. Listen well, the so-called Nen is. Just when Mo Lin was going to explain Nen knowledge to Maki, the latter also pricked his ears to listen. Bang bang bang. The old door made a muffled noise, as if being beaten violently. Hey! The disturbed Maki's expression instantly fell cold, and with a quick movement of his hands, a thin line was drawn between the hands. Above the thin lines, a faint luster flashed, and in this clear day, a hint of chill was exuded. The thin line is Maki's weapon, so far, it has been handy. Mo Lin also secretly raised his anger, and planned to take action immediately if something was wrong. If the opponent is really a master who can't even deal with him, then just take out the gourmet tablecloth and get 100 canned pickled herring. Both of them were attentively guarded, only to hear a rough male voice suddenly sounded outside the door. Hey! Maki, are you there? Hearing this voice, Maki's cold eyes instantly relaxed. Asterisk. Chapter 9. I am here. She slowly lowered the thread. Judging from this action, it shows that she knows someone outside the door. But just in case, someone disguised or kidnapped someone she knew to deal with her, she still hadn't fallen behind. In this dangerous meteor street, it is hard to say what will happen, and no one can be overly guarded. If you are, then open the door. It's me. I haven't been kidnapped or disguised. The evidence is that there is a stupid swordsman next to me who can't kill a chicken with a knife. In Meteor Street, did you find a live chicken for me? As long as there is one, I will immediately chop it to you in person. Oh, to put it bluntly, you can't even chop a chicken to death. You haven't seen a dead chicken, what is your BDS fart here? The rugged male voice clearly knew how to show that his current state was safe. It was that he might have annoyed the companion who came with him in terms of words, and the two started arguing outside. Hearing the familiar tone and the sound of fighting, Maki put down all his guards and stepped forward to open the door. Stop arguing, Yuvajin, Maki said calmly. You come in too, Nobunaga. Yuvajin and Nobunaga walked in cursingly. There is anyone else? After the two came in, they realized that besides Maki, there was another guy in the room. Stretching his neck, he looked at the two of them curiously. Is this Yuvajin and Nobunaga when they were young? The conspicuous explosive head and the outfit of the Rurouni warrior made it hard not to let Mo Lin recognize it. Hunter x Hunter Crollo recalled that when Phantom Troop was founded, the characteristics of several people were so obvious. Yuvajin's complexion is darker with a conspicuous black explosive head. He is tall and has strong arms and legs, but he is not as strong as his future appearance. Nobunaga has a straight braid on his head, his facial features are a little delicate, and his complexion is very pale. Nobunaga and Yuvajin are two extremes. They look like oily niches. God knows how the decadent uncle came from 10 years later. This was the first impression Yuvajin and Nobunaga gave to Mo Lin. They can only sigh again that the power of the pig knife is terrible. Maki, who is this guy? Yuvajin scratched his nose while pointing at Mo Lin and asked casually. He didn't have any opinions or defenses against Mo Lin. It is enough that Mo Lin can appear in Maki's room and stand well, and that Maki can open the door to them safely and casually as usual. Yuvajin does not believe in Mo Lin, he believes in Maki's security vigilance. Since Maki felt that Mo Lin was fine in her house, Yuvajin also felt fine. Although he has a rough appearance, he is quite rough and fine. As for Nobunaga, he looked at Mo Lin up and down, touching his chin, thinking a little sadly. It turns out to be more handsome than when I was back then. His name is Mo Lin, and he currently lives with me for the time being. Maki said, then looked at Mo Lin, pointed to Yuvajin and Nobunaga and said. Yuvajin, Nobunaga. Although the introduction is very short, if Maki can make an introduction to each other, it means that the other party is fine. What are you doing at my house? Maki asked. She still had some complaints about the fact that Yuvajin and Nobunaga bothered her to learn about Nin. What are you talking about? Yuvajin, who was observing Mo Lin, was immediately unhappy when he heard Maki's words. Didn't you say 2 days ago, go to the landfill of the garbage dump today to find something? Yuvajin dissatisfied, you are late, Maki. Maki, it seems to be the case. She patted her forehead with her hand. She did agree with Yuvajin and Nobunaga 2 days ago to act together today. But she forgot about it because she was shocked by Mo Lin's series of operations. As a result, she failed to arrive on time as scheduled. And Yuvajin is the most punctual person, so he especially hates being late and breaking appointments. Aren't we afraid of what happened to you, Maki? Nobunaga played round the court next to him. After all, you have never regretted being late for what was agreed in the past. We came here to see the situation. Maki shook his head, this is indeed my fault. Nobunaga also waved his hand and said with a smile, it's okay, we are just worried about you. Yuvajin next to him also raised his head. Thanks. Maki's heart also warmed slightly. Well, since you are fine, let's go. The impatient Yuvajin said, going out. If it's a little bit later, maybe the good stuff will have to be picked up. Today is the day when the garbage truck is delivered. Many people will go there. Move faster. He did not forget to turn his head and look at Mo Lin. Who, your name is Mo Lin, right? I happen to have a spare set of protective clothing there. I'll talk about the size or something. You can wear it first. Yuvajin is quite familiar, and Maki felt that it was okay after the introduction, and began to bluff. That. Mo Lin, who was named, asked Yuvajin. Shall we go to the landfill to find something? Of course it's supplies for life. Yuvajin looked at Mo Lin like a fool, and motioned to Maki at the same time. The little man you picked up didn't seem to have a good mind. With regard to Yuvajin's eyes, Maki squeezed the corners of his mouth and looked at it with interest. What? At this moment, Nobunaga next to him found something. Asterisk. Chapter 10. It seems that you have had a good harvest these 2 days, Maki. Nobunaga stepped forward, walked to the table, picked up the bowl that Mo Lin and Maki used to eat before, and took a closer look. This is the first time I have seen such a good bowl. The ones in my house are all in tatters. He looked at it, and was amazed. This is the bowl that comes with the gourmet tablecloth when the food is transformed. Such a bowl can be used to exchange a lot of black rice. He does not mean that. This sentence fell in Maki's ear next to him, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, I can't take out the food, it will be torn into pieces. But these leftover dishes or something, if you are a little careful, shouldn't it be a problem? There won't be anyone, can you even eat the dishes? Suddenly, Maki was there again thinking and calculating to see how much it could sell. Don't say that some are gone. Yuvajin became impatient and said, hurry up and go. Can I exchange a lot of black rice with just such a bowl? Mo Lin stood up and said with a smile. Yes. Nobunaga nodded, only those elders can use such good things. We only need to exchange some black rice to fill our stomachs. It is as if he saw his cool and handsome shadow in Mo Lin's body a few years ago, and Nobunaga is happy to chat with Mo Lin. Is the black rice thing delicious? Doesn't it smell weird? It's definitely not delicious, but it's cheap to exchange, and a small amount can fill your stomach, which is very affordable. Yuvajin. Co-authored Lao Tzu just has no sense of existence, and is constantly ignored, right? He was a little crazy. Hey, I said you too. I will treat you to a meal. Mo Lin interrupted him again. As a treat for our first meeting. You want to invite us to dinner? Yuvajin didn't have any regenerative energy this time, but also grasped the key point. You want a treat? That uncle will tell you clearly in advance, I won't be polite to you. All you want is your welcome. Mo Lin smiled and said, although you can eat as much as you can, I will be anxious if you are not full. Is that so? Yuvajin was no longer angry, but Mo Lin's performance was right to his appetite. He grinned, then you can present the black rice, I will definitely clean it for you. Black rice. Mo Lin smiled and shook his head, I can't get the black rice out of my treat. Oh. Yuvajin and Nobunaga raised their eyebrows. Maki, who was watching the excitement next to him, also interjected, he has something better than black rice. Something better. Both Yuvajin and Nobunaga's eyes lit up at the same time. They glanced at each other, and then sat down at the table in a tacit understanding. No wonder I smelled a scent when I entered the door before. Yuvajin laughed and said, I thought it was an illusion. Nobunaga also slightly nodded, then we will wait for it. Hey! After the two of them sat down, Mo Lin took out the gourmet tablecloth again and spread it on the table of the two of them. Where did this come from? The two of them first wondered if Mo Lin had become a trick, and then focused on the tablecloth in front of him. Yuvajin, it's pretty. Nobunaga, well, I can change a lot of black rice. Do you have anything to eat for the two of you? Before ordering, Mo Lin asked specifically. You can show it to us. Yuvajin grinned and waved his hand very proudly. Then I'm free. Mo Lin smiled and nodded, then snapped his fingers. Then let's start with 2 roasted suckling pigs for an appetizer. As soon as his words fell, the gourmet tablecloth on the table was in full view, and food suddenly appeared. 2 whole roasted pigs with attractive aromas and golden and crispy roasted colors were caught in everyone's eyes. The scent that was carried instantly spread to the entire room. Guru! A particularly loud sound of swallowing drool can be clearly heard. This is the roast suckling pig. Nobunaga and Yuvajin looked at the plate in front of them. The 2 suckling pigs that kept emitting fragrance to them, and seemed to say come and eat me, looked straight. Suck. Nobunaga kept smashing his mouth, while Yuvajin was very simple, wiping his saliva that was about to flow out of the waterfall with the back of his hand. Even Maki, who was holding his chest with his hands on his chest, was about to watch the show. Even though he was full, he couldn't help but roll his throat slightly. Please use. Mo Lin made a please gesture. After listening, Yuvajin and Nobunaga first glanced at Mo Lin, then both raised their heads at the same time and looked at each other again. If it is a little better than black rice, they don't need to hesitate so much. But this scent is too strong, the color is too attractive, the desire to eat is simply not too strong. The point is that these 2 suckling pigs still suddenly emerged, which makes people a bit uncomfortable. The 2 looked at Maki together and found that she had no plans to say anything. In that case, eat. Yuvajin started directly and tore off a pork leg. Asterisk. Chapter 11. Although I don't know how these 2 dishes were transformed, but since you are ready to treat, of course I have to just let go of my belly and eat it. Nobunaga also nodded again and again, yes, such a good thing, even if it is really problematic, I recognize it. He put the long knife in his hand aside, thrown off his sleeve, and started directly. At this time, Yuvajin had put the pork leg into his mouth. Just a mouthful, Yuvajin's figure paused slightly, and then, good to eat. A strong light broke out in his eyes, and he let out a loud scream, which shocked Nobunaga who was eating. Your voice is too loud. Nobunaga, who was also full of his mouth, expressed his dissatisfaction. At the same time, I did not forget to make the same evaluation, it's delicious. Yuvajin didn't have time to pay attention to Nobunaga's dissatisfaction. After 3 bites and 2 of them killed a pork leg, Yuvajin continued to show his unusually aggressive eating. Nobunaga is not slow to eat, but compared to Yuvajin, it is not enough. Soon, under Yuvajin's eating method, his roasted suckling pig quickly entered his stomach. And under Yuvajin's extraordinary bite force, he didn't let go of even the bones. After taking a few bites, he swallowed them all. Well, although there is no bite force to bite off half of the skull of the female beast later, but the current mouth is not too good. Tisk tisk. Yuvajin, who was very satisfied with the food, made a refreshing slamming sound after a suckling pig had eaten his belly. It's just that he obviously has some ideas. He squinted at the opposite side. Nobunaga has also eaten most of it, and there is just 1 pig hind leg left. Now Nobunaga also eats meat like Yuvajin without spitting out bones, biting bones in his mouth. Yuvajin grinned, showing a big grin. The fangs that had just chewed the pig bones into pieces gave off a hint of chill. Not to be missed. Seeing this scene, Yuvajin gave full play to what is called quick eyesight, quick hands, and lightning fast. Hey! I saw an afterimage flashing past, and the pig's hind leg that was about to be picked up in front of Nobunaga, for some reason, reached Yuvajin's hands. Nobunaga. He stared blankly at his bare plate, and then at Yuvajin who was holding the pig's hind legs and nibbling. Yuvajin. Nobunaga was furious, he roared. Die to me. He instantly grabbed the handle of the long knife he carried. I'll fight you after I finish this bite. Yuvajin said vaguely, then quickly chewed the pork leg and stuffed it all into his mouth. Okay, come on. Yuvajin, who was chewing hard in his mouth, set a fighting posture against Nobunaga. Nobunaga watched Yuvajin's mouth and throat move, his lips trembling constantly. Guru. Yuvajin swallowed. My pork leg. Nobunaga shouted heartbreakingly. Isn't it just a pork leg? Seeing Nobunaga's scarlet eyes, Yuvajin said. But immediately, he paused and felt that saying this was indeed too hateful, and added. Big deal, I'll pay you back. Return. Nobunaga pulled the scabbard away and threw it aside, roaring. What do you owe me, pig legs? Maki sighed, planning to stop it. Although she knew that the final result was that after the two had a fight, things didn't stop. But the problem is, this trademark is her home. If you two want to fight, can you go out and fight? Okay, don't hurt your peace for a pig. Mo Lin stepped forward first, then snapped his fingers. I've said, I'll take this meal today, pig, enough care. On the table of the two of them, there were two more delicious roasted suckling pigs. Nobunaga. Yuvajin. The two looked at each other again. Do you still fight? What a fart! Almost at the same time. Nobunaga threw the katana in his hand aside again, and Yuvajin tore a pork leg again. In the end, Yuvajin paid Nobunaga a pig leg and solved it perfectly. Hiccup. Both of them had a round belly and rolled their eyes a little. I can still eat. Yuvajin said hard with his greasy mouth. You will almost become a pig if you eat it again. Maki rolled his eyes. These two guys, you're welcome, they didn't know how many pigs they had eaten before they could stop. If it hadn't really reached the throat, I'm afraid the two would continue to eat. It's really delicious. Nobunaga was also satisfied. It is the most delicious roast suckling pig I have ever eaten. Yuvajin let out a loud voice, it sounds like you have eaten it before. Nobunaga glared at him, it's because I haven't eaten it before, so it tastes the best. In any case, Mo Lin's treat for dinner this time completely satisfied them. You are interesting enough. Yuvajin grinned and gave a thumbs up to Mo Lin, who put away the gourmet tablecloth next to him. I like. Asterisk. Chapter 12. Nobunaga rolled his eyes. I think you still prefer pigs. Ha ha ha, it's all the same. Yuvajin laughed. His digestive ability is very strong, and he was panicked just now, and now he can stand up directly. Anyway, I recognize you as a friend. As Yuvajin said, he glanced at the plate left on the table, left over from the suckling pig, the same style plate as the bowl Nobunaga found earlier. A rough smile, I understand why Maki left you. If it's me, I hope you stay. He smiled, then his face straightened up immediately. May I ask, how did you make those suckling pigs? Hearing this question, Nobunaga, who was sitting down, also raised his head. I like to go straight, I want to ask if I don't understand. Yuvajin grinned, of course, it doesn't matter if it's not convenient for you. This is not convenient or inconvenient. Mo Lin smiled. He could also tell that Yuvajin was telling the truth. If Mo Lin is really inconvenient to say, he will never continue to ask questions. Yuvajin is indeed a straightforward person, but his straightforwardness is only for people and friends he recognizes. In his opinion, Mo Lin is already his friend. Well, a treat of the roast suckling pig will reap Yuvajin's friendship and recognition. In Mo Lin's view, this transaction is not a loss. I can do this step only because of Nen. Nen? With a move in Maki's heart, Mo Lin mentioned the term again. And Yuvajin and Nobunaga. Where did I hear this word? Yuvajin folded his arms around his chest, frowning and muttering. And Nobunaga next to him also thought about it, and then... Oh, I thought about it. Nobunaga clapped his hands suddenly. I heard Krollo say. Krollo. Yuvajin was also stunned. Yes, 2 days ago, I heard from him that he had inquired about some information from the elder, which seemed to include Nin. Krollo? Elder's intelligence? That seems to be the head of the future phantom troop, Krollo Lucifer. Mo Lin thought in his heart. Maki was also slightly surprised, apparently she also knew Krollo before. Yuvajin looked at Mo Lin in front of him with even greater interest. You also know Nin, do you Mo Lin? I heard that this is the power that the elders can master. He looked at Mo Lin with scorching eyes. Can this kind of power teach us? Hey, Yuvajin, you are too sudden. Nobunaga scolded Yuvajin, but his small eyes looked at Mo Lin from time to time. Obviously, he is also very curious and eager for this kind of power. Not to mention Maki. Originally Mo Lin was going to tell her about reading, but Yuvajin and the others interrupted it in the middle. Sure. Mo Lin smiled. Originally, he was also going to teach Maki Nin. 1 sheep is also drove, 2 sheep are also released, but now there are 2 more sheep to be released. What's more, Yuvajin and Nobunaga will also develop the idea of not being weak in the future, and now they have a good relationship with each other in advance. Anyway, they will also master mindfulness in the future, and now that the professor has given them the reality of preaching and teaching karma, then they will be closer to themselves. Using the basic knowledge that is about to be disseminated in the circle, to give Maki, Yuvajin and Nobunaga as a favor, why not Mo Lin? If Maki, Yuvajin, Nobunaga and others have learned that Nin grows up, then at least this Meteor Street can be considered as a small group. If you really have any trouble, you can also organize a team to solve it. In terms of safety and survivability, it is greatly improved. Mo Lin is also thinking about his own safety. But for Yuvajin and others, it's not ordinary. It's really possible. This kind of magical power that even the elders are unwilling to disclose easily and cover up, Mo Lin is willing to teach them. Nobunaga was startled, but Yuvajin smiled more openly. I said, Mo Lin, you guy is to my appetite. From now on, if anyone finds trouble with Mo Lin, I, Yuvajin, will work hard with him. Although Yuvajin said it with a smile, the serious expression in his eyes showed that he was not joking or saying anything. Yuvajin is serious. Mo Lin can naturally see it. If he has a system, I'm afraid he can see Yuvajin's increasing popularity. Come here. Yuvajin passed the chair enthusiastically, and Nobunaga wiped the dust off with his sleeve. Mo Lin, sit down. Now. Mo Lin made a rare joke. Aren't you going to the dumping area to turn things over? Today is the day when the garbage trucks arrive, shall we change the day? Not going. Nobunaga and Yuvajin both shouted at the same time. Just today. Maki also joined in the fun. That's fine, cough cough. Mo Lin cleared his throat. Yuvajin and Nobunaga hurriedly made preparations on the wooden bed, as if students were listening carefully. But when the weight of the 2 of them increased, the wooden bed seemed a little overwhelmed. Maki also sat in his hammock, preparing for Mo Lin to listen to the lecture. First of all, if you want to learn Nin, you have to start learning from Nin. After all the students were seated, Mo Lin's small class started. Asterisk. Chapter 13. Mind, the ability used by people called Hunter or Nin. There are special training methods to practice, or to accept the initiation of reading, and compulsorily learn these 2 methods. Several people are listening attentively. If you have a pen and paper, I'm afraid you will have to take it out and take notes seriously. The essence of mind is the ability to manipulate life energy, to be able to freely manipulate the life energy emitted from the body, that is, qi, the force used for attack or defense. Mo Lin said, taking the scabbard that Nobunaga had pulled away on the ground in his hand. No matter how dull or fragile it is, once it is entangled with mind, it will become sharper than a knife and harder than a heavy hammer. Mind force is infused, and qi is wrapped around the scabbard. Mo Lin gently held it and pushed it to the ground. Obviously there was no effort, but in an instant, a deep hole was smashed into the ground. The pupils of Maki, Yuvajin, and Nobunaga shrank. This is the power of mind. Mo Lin preached. Yuvajin and Nobunaga looked at each other, and both saw the heat in each other's eyes. Maki looked at the hole and curled his lips. Forget it, because he taught me how to read, I won't ask him for maintenance. After comprehending Nian, the practice of Nian is mainly in four aspects, namely the four major actions, which are Zhang, Ju, practice, and Fa. Entangling, focusing the mind, gazing at the self, and calming the mood is the mental concentration method for calming emotions, and it is also the main way to practice and use mindfulness. Absolutely, eliminate one's own aura without being noticed by the enemy. Practicing, concentrating the mind, bursting out a strong aura, and sublimating the will with training. Fa, that is, the will of sublimation can change depending on the object. The so-called winning by momentum, I will not move, and the enemy will retreat. The above four major actions are collectively called mindfulness, which is to sublimate the mind and exercise the mind. The foundation of all mindful fighting skills is the four major actions. In other words, it is the practice of enhancing the self-will process. As for the more advanced application techniques in the future, let's talk about it later. Mo Lin spoke slowly and in great detail. Yuvajin and the others were also engrossed in their minds. Okay, is there anything you don't understand now? Next is the questioning session. Is the cup of water with leaves you used in the morning the way to practice Nen? Maki raised her hand and asked. This scene in the morning really made her too curious. This is a way of judging your Nen, which department you belong to. After you learn how to read, I will let you test them one by one. Mo Lin said, are there any questions? I have. Yuvajin raised his thick arm high, when can we learn to read? Nobunaga also nodded, he also wanted to ask this question. Anytime. Mo Lin smiled and said, as long as you are ready. I'm ready. Asterisk 2. Yuvajin and Nobunaga once again spoke in unison, saying the classic lines of SpongeBob SquarePants. Me too. Maki turned her pink-purple hair in her hand. Yuvajin and Nobunaga are fine, but Maki, you. Mo Lin looked at her, I suggest you better be late. Maki didn't speak, and looked at Mo Lin calmly, waiting for a reason for him. Although the earlier the opening of mindfulness is, the better, the more you can exercise the intensity of mindfulness and the increase in air volume in advance, but there is a prerequisite for this. Mo Lin explained, that is when the physical fitness is strong enough. Nobunaga is now 17 years old, and Yuvajin is also 16 years old. The two are not far from adulthood, and looking at their strong muscles, it is absolutely no problem to start mindfulness with their physical fitness. But for Maki, it's a bit reluctant. The people of the Zaldik family have high hopes on Killua, and they also hope that his physical fitness will be stronger before he learns to read. Mo Lin also hoped that Maki would train his body first, and then talk about reading. If your physical fitness is not strong enough, can you definitely not learn to read? Maki looked directly into Mo Lin's eyes. Mo Lin shook his head, it's not, it's just a suggestion. I want to learn. Maki said calmly. She explained her attitude again. Good. Mo Lin nodded. This is Maki's own will. If he interferes, he is not justified and has no right to interfere. If you want to learn to read, the first of the two methods I talked about before is to have professional teachers in this area to teach them hand in hand. After each hunter test is over, those who pass will be taught the mind source learning method of mind source by the hunters of the inner genre of the association. Although I have mastered a lot of Nin's knowledge, I don't know anything about mind stream learning methods, so if you want to learn to read, there is only the second way. Accept the initiation of reading, compulsory learning. Mo Lin said in a deep voice, let me make it clear first. Although this method has no side effects after learning to read, it is much more dangerous than learning to read step by step. If you are careless, you will be nearly lucky and you may not even be able to save your life. Yes. After listening, Yuvajin grinned and said, that's right, if there is really no risk, then I really have to hesitate. Nobunaga next to him also nodded in agreement, it's okay. Our lives are generally harder. We can't die when we are free. Maki, I am not afraid of death. Asterisk. Chapter 14. That's okay. Seeing that the attitudes of several people were very firm, Mo Lin continued. There are two main types of initiation. One is the type of luck and death. This kind of initiation is very rough, and most of the newcomers who have just hit the 200th floor in the Sky Arena. Oh, the Sky Arena is a holy land for fighting in the outside world, a paradise for fighting fans, where the world's top fighters gather to fight. Seeing Yuvajin and Nobunaga look blank, Mo Lin added another knowledge point. There are 200 layers, and above 200 layers, it is the world of the Nin. There is such a place. Yuvajin touched his fist and smiled excitedly. When I have a chance to go out, I must go there and have a good fight. Maki turned her hair, she was not interested. In addition, the Sky Arena allocates floors according to strength. The higher the strength, the higher the floor and the more bonuses you will get. Bonus. Maki glanced over. Yes, bonus. Mo Lin thought for a while, whether he wins or loses in the first layer, he can get a bonus of 152 nicknames, which is about the price of buying a can of juice. However, if you lose in the next game, there is no bonus. If you win on the 50th floor, you will probably get 50,000 ringlets, and the subsequent layers will receive corresponding bonuses according to their level. Up to the 100th floor, there will be about 1 million bonuses, and the 150th floor and above is a bonus of more than 10 million yuan. If you win the 190th floor, you can get a bonus of about 200 million genie. About 200 million. Maki muttered. Yuvajin. She suddenly raised her volume, I will go with you then. Maki's eyes flashed through the corridors, as if he had found some important life goal. I have to fight hard too. Okay. For fighting or something, Yuvajin loves it so much, if someone is accompanied, that's even better. He looked at Mo Lin with scorching eyes again and motioned for him to continue. If a newcomer who doesn't know how to read will be attacked by the old people after they hit the 200th floor of the arena. Mo Lin continued to talk about some little knowledge about Nian. The gap between people who know how to read and those who don't know how to read is like a moat. Once there is no mind to protect the body and the body is attacked by the power of mind, the skin will be peeled off if you don't die. If you want to learn to read, you have to open the closed aura nodes, and the life energy and chi sealed in the body will flow out and wrap around the body. In addition to step-by-step learning to open the aura nodes one by one, only when you read initiation on your body can you have a chance to open it. In Nian's initiation, one is the violent attack, which is the old and new luck-seeking type in the Sky Arena, and the other is someone who knows how to read and irrigate your whole body with the help of him. To help you open aura nodes. I am the latter. Mo Lin lied a little, but the problem is not big. So it seems that we are going to adopt the same approach as you. Maki made a choice. Although I really want to try the power of reading, let you attack me. Yuvajin smiled, but after I have mastered the reading, let's discuss it with you. Then I beg you, Mo Linear. Nobunaga scratched his head and said. After listening to Mo Lin's explanation, the three people all wisely chose the second way of saying initiation itself. After all, they are not so stupid that there is a safe and good way to use them, instead they try their luck with their lives. And didn't Mo Lin come here like this? This is more secure and safer. Well. Mo Lin moved slightly, which one of you will come first? I'll do it first. Yuvajin was the first to jump out. I can't wait to have this power. He looked at Mo Lin, his face full of eagerness to try. Good. Mo Lin nodded, and in an instant, after practicing, a strong qi burst out of his body. The complexion of the three people present changed. Is this reading? Several people were shocked before, even though they hadn't learned to condense the flow of invisible air. But feeling the momentum and pressure Mo Lin brought to them at this moment, I was even more moved. I must master this power. Yuvajin's eyes flickered, but soon disappeared, staring fiercely at Mo Lin. Let me finally say that even such a mild initiation is not without danger. He gradually brought his hands together with twists. After the aura nodes are opened, if you can't well control the outflow of qi all over the body, causing the qi to flow out all the time, you are likely to be bleeding too much, and you will die because of the excessive loss of qi. As for how to guide the outflow of qi all over the body, it depends on your own will and ability. Others can't help you much. I see. Yuvajin patted his chest. Come on though. Be careful. Seeing Yuvajin full of confidence, Mo Lin stopped saying anything. The wrapped hand was placed directly in front of Yuvajin's forehead. Suddenly, he controlled his qi and poured down toward Yuvajin. This is... Yuvajin's eyes widened instantly. He felt a powerful force pouring into his body. Before he felt that he would be invaded by this external force and could not bear it. Chapter 15. Suddenly, he felt his whole body lighten, as if the shackles on his body were opened, and the whole person was no longer bound, as if falling into the cloud. Your aura nodes have been opened. Mo Lin's reminding voice echoed in his ears instantly. Watch your mind, condense the outflowing air, and wrap it around your body. Without Mo Lin's reminder, Yuvajin could already feel his body and was losing something crazy. How could it be so easy to let you run away? Yuvajin grinned his teeth, biting hard. Boom! The powerful aura flowing out slightly set off a dust circle on the flat ground. Yuvajin's body is not generally strong, and the qi in his body is inherently stronger than ordinary people. But unfortunately, Yuvajin's will is not lost at all by these strengths. Phew! Another gust of wind rose on the ground, and Yuvajin took a deep breath. It's done. Mo Lin slapped his palm and smiled. Hearing these two words, Nobunaga dared to come closer. Yuvajin, what do you think? I feel. Yuvajin took a breath and looked at his hands. He already feels that he is completely different from before. This feeling of power constantly pouring out of the body. It's better than ever. Yuvajin clenched his fist fiercely, feeling incredibly refreshing. Move a small amount of qi to one's own eyes. This is one of the basic skills of Nian, Ning, and you can see the use of your own and the opponent's qi. Mo Lin said. Yuvajin quickly followed suit. After only 2 attempts, he succeeded in gathering the qi into his eyes like an armband. Is this anger? Looking at his arm and body, Yuvajin touched it up and down. Then the surging aura that seemed to him surging made Yuvajin feel full of pride in his time. I want to hit 10. He almost yelled this sentence. It's just that he suppressed the joy in his heart and looked at Mo Lin seriously. He patted Mo Lin's shoulder vigorously with his rough big hand. Thanks, Mo Lin. He said flatly. But the more plain, the more full of his passionate and sincere feelings. After Yuvajin opened aura nodes, he really regarded Mo Lin as his own. When Maki and Nobunaga saw this scene, the corners of their mouths were also slightly lifted. Maki had no opinion on Mo Lin at first, and Nobunaga also recognized Mo Lin because of Yuvajin. Their small trio team has now joined another one. Don't be so polite in the future. Mo Lin also patted Yuvajin's big arm. In the days to come, we will still grow. Ha ha ha, you are right, it will grow again in the future. I think that after I will learn to be proficient in Neon in the future, I will go outside to kill the quartet. Such a scene, Yuvajin thinks it is very exciting. Laughing and waving his fists in the sky. He can't wait to leave Meteor Street now and go to the outside world. It looks really amazing. Nobunaga looked up and down Yuvajin, he could feel the changes of his friends and the extremely happy mentality, and he couldn't help but look forward to it. The next one. Open it to me. Maki jumped off the hammock and stood in front of Mo Lin, looking at him quietly with her clear and calm golden eyes. Nobunaga. Obviously it's me first. He opened his mouth, trying to say something. But when I thought that this was at Maki's house, I met Mo Lin through Maki. He couldn't help but swallowed the words in his mouth angrily. Anyway, after Maki is over, it will still be his turn, so don't worry about it. Nobunaga had to comfort himself so in his heart.